Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the WorkShop Studio and Micro-Brewery channel. I am your host Leo J. Bailey. With me today is my lovely assistant, Mr. Chris Rush.
Go fuck yourself.
Alright, so look, I've had over the past couple of years people ask me about my keggers that are back there on my shelf. I used to have 4 of them, but now I'm down to 2. But people ask me, hey, how did you get that? Where did you get it? Where do you buy them? You kind of don't. If you get your hands on one, this is how you would go about doing this little transformation, I think is the only way to say it. In my line of work, I come across these little buggers. And what they are, in a convenience store, you will find these. They either have milk and cream, half and half, or iced coffee and cappuccino for over an iced thing. And when you walk up, you put your cup, it's got a box of some sort of product. Yep, open that up. And they sit in there and they have a little tube that goes down in here. And when you do like that, it pinches it shut. And then when you push down, it opens it, pours stuff out. It's a refrigerated, tiny little compressor, little refrigerated unit. The health department is very, very picky about temperature, oddly enough. And what happens is on this digital display, if it fails, they need to know what the temperature is. And these are meant to be disposable, sadly. But there is a second thermistor. You pop the plug, there's 2 little tiny thermistors that are just thermostats. But they're digital thermostats, and they read temperature, but they're not replaceable. So they put 2 of them in, and when the first one fails, you unplug it, you plug the other one in. Why they never made them replaceable, I don't know. So what happens when the second one fails, or the little computer board fails, they go back to the shop to be thrown in a dumpster. I was just starting to brew when I saw one of these, and one of the guys in the shop, the warehouse guy, was using one as a little refrigerator at his desk. I thought, well, that's brilliant. But it was just wired, you know, that he was still using the digital, the thing inside. It still cools. Now, sometimes they fail and they don't cool anymore. They got to get chucked. But I started telling him, or asking, how many of these things are going in the dumpster? He said, way too many. I said, anytime that you find one, plug it in. After an hour, put your hand in. If it's cold or cooling or frosting up, set it aside, put my name on it. That's why I have 5 of these things now. And in 5 years, I've only had one where the compressor locked up. And it just failed. Only one. So for me to take one off of that shelf and get one from out of the back of the basement and put it back in and put it back in service takes me less than 15 minutes. Because I've already got everything pre-done. Yeah. So first step, and I'm going to have Chris do a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to fast forward through a lot of the actual work, but I'm going to tell you what we're doing before and after. Normally there is a wire that goes in that is for the digital stat, but somewhere along the lines, either I cut it or somebody else removed it. What I'm going to do, and Chris and I are going to do first, is we're going to dismantle everything here on the front, and then we're going to spin it, and I'm going to have him take the back plate off so that we can get in this thing and gut all that out. Okay? Stick with us. Let's get on it. I've already gutted it. So at this point, normally there's a computer board in here that we have to rip out, and in this case,
it would only be attached there, wouldn't it?
It would be, yeah, it would be mounted right here. This one's already been gutted. So
your tutorial sucks.
I know. Well, they didn't need to know about that part anyway. So here's the condenser, and if you ever get your hands on one of these, don't make a mistake and not put the back on thinking that this needs to cool off. The back is actually part of the ductwork in the fan, removing heat from the system. So let's take a look. So basically what you want is a switch that when this thing is powered on, is going to go through a thermostat, which is what we're going to use today, and just powers this thing on, temperature controlled. So I just need to investigate, make sure that my power coming in, everything is neutral, one side of the fan, then my power's coming in, my power's coming in. Let's take a look back here.
There's your on-off switch.
Yep, leave that attached.
I wasn't.
Okay. I got black, and then that's for power through the switch to the fan, red wire to the compressor, turn the switch on, compressor comes on. Now whoever had their hands on this before, this might have been the unit that I was talking about that my warehouse guy had, because it's just, you turn it on, it just freezes. Well, not freezes, but it runs. It never shuts off. That's a problem. You don't want that. There's two ways you can do this. So now we have what we know is our wiring. Sorry. There's our ground. And here is our hot leg right here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to wire up a thermostat, which I have pre-connected right here. And you can do this one of two ways. You can do this as a thermostat or a secondary way, which I will show you in just a second. This is expensive. They're about 60, 70 bucks out of a refrigeration supply shop. And all I did is screwed it, ran the wires up through the slot. You're going to see that. However, I have since discovered another way of doing it. I knew I forgot something. I initially bought this thinking I was going to need it for this big cooler that I just got my hands on. Bought this from Northern Brewer. And it is a very simple temperature control. The beauty is there's nothing to wire. You'd mount this thing, whether it's the side, wherever you wanted to mount it, right? Take the thing, the switch, the thing.
Jesus.
Boy, I'm technical today, ain't I? You take the switch, turn it to the power on, take the plug of the unit, the power to the machine.
It goes into that.
Plugs into this. When this, and then you plug this into your wall, and then you take your digital thermistor, your thermostat, and you'd run that up just like we're going to do the mechanical and mount it on the inside. $35 compared to, and not nearly half the wiring.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I did buy this. I'm sure I'll find a use for it eventually, somehow or another. But yeah, I ended up buying it thinking I needed it for this, and this thing's system works perfectly fine. So, Northern Brewer, 35 bucks if you want to go that route.
Now that has two plugs on it for heating.
One's for
cooling.
heating, yeah. You can actually heat fermenters, carboys. Say you need to ramp a temperature up, or in my case, my basement's too cold to ferment at 68 degrees. You could set a heater to keep a blanket wrapped around your carboy and set it at 68 degrees, and you got perfect 68 degrees. So, like I said, I might find a use for that eventually. So, wiring. What we want to do is we want to break the hot leg of the circuit, right? So all we're doing is coming into one side, like so, and the hot leg is going to be this guy right here. So we're just going to pull this wire off, and this is the hot leg that powers the compressor and the fan. So we don't need that little guy anymore. the compressor.
You got enough room.
Yeah, I'm good, I think. You know what I mean? We had our first, you're going to be catching this about 2 weeks or a week after? Week and a half after our first BrewTubers official online meeting. And Daddy ended up having a few last night. Like I said,
you're giving yourself away, Leo.
Man, I tell you, hey, I'm not the only one. I think I saw on the message boards this morning that I think maybe it was Nick. I know that SJ said he was hungover too. Y'all are bad influences. All right, ta-da! If you had to wire all this, you know that's all you do. You're going to come in, bring your power in, make sure that your hot leg. Half of it is on this little fan right here because that is your cooling fan for your compressor and to remove the heat from the system. There is no fan in this part. It just gets cold. And you screw your system.
You gotta unfuck your system first.
Well, you gotta... Did you say I have to unfuck my system?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that's what you actually said. Ta-da! So, now, and like I said, you can use this for a number of different things. If you want to make a little tiny 1 gallon kegger out of it, that's great. Or you make a lagering chamber. It's all 1 gallon stuff, which I still do from time to time. I mean, I've gone from 1 to 3. I do the occasional 5. But this is perfect for 1 gallon stuff, especially if you're a beginner. You get your hands on something like this, and this is what you got. Now, where's our little sticky tape thingies? This
sticky tape.
Ooh, and I need 2 wire ties out of that bottom. There you go. These things are really invaluable. They're just the little wire tie squares that have sticky tape on the ends of them. And this is how I do. I go in and I use 2 of them. And I'll put one against the side here. And then I will use a second and put it a little further up here. Remember, this is just, there's no fan, this is just ambient temp. So, I will then, let's get this so that it will turn, run that through the little, and I might have wanted to rethink this. There she goes. There's one. And then the same thing with the other. You want to strap that bulb down and this line down so that it's nice and secure when you're rolling your little 1 gallons in and out. Alright. I'm going to take a picture of this when I'm done, so be prepared for a fast edit. Ta-da! Now, the choice is now, what do I use it for? And in my opinion, I think it can be used for 2 very distinct different things. You now have perfect temperature control. You could do a 1 gallon lager in this thing because you could ferment at any temperature you want it to be at. Except for hot, obviously. However, this is why I love this little system so much. These are the little 1 gallon guys. They have the airlock that is just the, you screw that down, you pour your sanitized water in, and it bubbles out. You can also do a blow-off tube if you need to because there's not a whole lot of space, but ferment. Works beautiful. Also, if you were to use it as a kegger, you can do both. You can still ferment with this, and then you can do this. They fit the little 1.75 gallon kegs beautifully. Just depends on which way you want to use this. If you want to use it for a kegger, of course, then you have to do the door, which I'm going to take the camera over and show you what I've already built. But that's the purpose of all this. I've got a couple of them. It kind of mad scientist, weird crap. So this is the setup and how this system looks when it's set up as a keg, or at least how my system is set up. So first, Chris, I'll have you come down. We have our little 5-pound CO2 tank and our main regulator. Comes out of our regulator, comes to the first of 2 secondary regulators, and then just stay where you are, but very briefly over here, there's a second one that goes to here. But this is the main system set up with a tap. I need to clean my lines. And this, your keg will roll in. There's my thermostat. I seal one side here with a little bit of foam tape. I wrap a piece of foam tape to seal the hole. This goes into the inlet of the keg. This is on the outlet of the keg. Everything comes in, boom, tap. The other thing I do that I didn't mention on the other, because that wasn't set up as a keg, is because the digital thermostat is gone, I just take a drill bit that'll fit this, screw that in out of the way so that you're not hitting your kegger. I will give you a piece of advice. Don't go with such a long shank. I couldn't get any short ones when I bought these. They do tend to hit the, and I've got 2 thermostats in here, or thermometers. They do tend to hit the kegs. Not that there isn't, there's plenty of room, but I have had that issue. It's only because I didn't have a choice. There you go. Oh, and then this was the drip tray that is normally set down lower. I now drill 2 short holes in, bring the drip tray up, boom, done. And there you have it. There's my little keggers. See you guys on the other side. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate your help today, buddy. See y'all later.